joining us, former communications director and spokesman for Congressman Hakeem Jeffries and former staffer for Senator Dick Durbin. Michael Hardaway, Governor Kasich, still with us. We are about to celebrate our 250th anniversary in this country. And Americans are looking at Washington and they're saying, I don't like anybody. And I think that sucks. That's depressing. How do we fix it?
Well, we have to remember we're on the same team. The governor and I disagree on some things, but we're on the same team. And that's one thing that we have to remember as Americans. We can disagree on policy, but at the end of the day, we have to be together. And I think that has eroded over the last several decades. We can criticize policy. We don't have to criticize people.
Yeah, but so many Americans now, Democrats will look at Republicans and say, well, these people are trying to open the door for authoritarianism. They are getting rid of our democracy. They're trampling our democracy in service of one man. They're not playing by the rules. They're not playing fair. How can we respect them? How can we work with them?
Katie, I mean, look, people on both sides look at the other side as being an existential threat to their way of life. If you're a Republican, oh my God, I can't. Texas, Paxton, is he going to win? Probably he'll win. I mean, maybe squeaker. And the reason I think is because it's cultural. And what Republicans will say, I can't vote for a Democrat. The same is true for Democrats. They go, I can't vote for a Republican. That's the worst thing in the world. I was with Chuck Todd the other day, who's a former host of Meet the Press, and he was pointing out that it took a number of presidential elections after Lincoln to get the country righted. I hate to think that we have to go through a whole bunch more elections, but I thought his point was really well made. And I'm sick about it. You're sick about it. You're sick about it. What I'm hoping is going to happen if the Democrats win the House, which I think they will, is I want Hakeem Jeffries, and we'll talk about this when we're done here, can he reach out to Republicans and get a small coalition to people for them to start pulling the power back into the legislative branch?
But do you think the Republicans would want to do that?
Some would.
You think so?
Absolutely. Some would. Well, Fitzpatrick, if he's elected. Yeah. I mean, if he's not defeated, he's a guy that's always for that. There are others. There's not a giant group of them, but there's probably a group of 25 or 30 of them that I think would do that.
Hakeem has spent his entire career working across the aisle, criminal justice reform with the Trump White House the first time around, worked with Doug Collins from Georgia, worked on patent reform as well with the Republicans. And so he's open to that, I think.
I think one of the issues when you talk about both sides, and this is a fair criticism, one side's denying the results of an election. And when you talk about Ken Paxton, okay, maybe he's going to win, but Ken Paxton denied the results of the 2020 election and was investigated for trying to get it overturned. Aren't there some red lines that you should not cross?
Oh, I wouldn't vote for the guy if I was living in Texas. So, yeah, are there some things you shouldn't say? That's right, but it's true on both sides. There are people in the Democratic Party that said that George W. Bush never was elected president properly.
Yeah, but you can't compare that. You can't compare what is happening now to a couple of people back then.
Well,
And also, the George W. Bush thing was over ballots. It's just a different thing. Donald Trump just denied the results because he did not like them. There were not any investigations that were found to have merit, no evidence of fraud that was found to have merit, nothing that would change the results.
Questioning the 2020 election.
The Florida story is not quite, it's apples and oranges.
It's coming from the top for the first time. It's never been that way before.
Yeah.
You get members of Congress say things, but the president has never bullied his opponents or called them pigs or dogs. I love dogs, by the way. That's not necessarily drag them into this. That's the difference here. We've never had the president himself driving this conversation.
See, I'm beside myself, not just because of Republicans. I'm beside myself because we're all clinging to our own base. And can we say Republicans are doing it more? I'm not sure what I am anymore. I'm an independent now, basically. I'm still a registered Republican. I'm still a conservative, but I'm bitterly disappointed with what they talk about with the January 6th and all that.
Would you vote for James Tallarico in Texas if you were not going to vote for Ken Paxton? Because that's a question for Cornyn supporters.
Well, I think I'd have to see all that he's for. I'd think about it. But I don't like the fact that this guy was convicted by the Republican House in Texas.
Impeached.
And, I don't like that. I'm just saying to you that, Katie, at what point do we say we want to burn a bridge on somebody that has a different view of than I do? And particularly if the view is something I really don't like. Do I write them off and just never speak to them again, or do I figure out a way to reach out? When I was in the House, I demonstrated an ability to do that. When I was governor, I did the same thing. People say things all the time that get your blood boiling and everything else.
Has it gotten so bad that people want that might actually happen?
Yes, because I think we have some serious issues globally that we as Americans need to be unified to deal with.
Bigger threats.
Much bigger threats. And so these domestic issues that we bicker over are meaningless in the context of global health issues and global terrorism issues and getting AI right?
Yeah.
And crypto and all these other very serious things. We have to be unified as a country. China, by the way, is doing its best to lead the way on all of those, and certainly AI.
That's what I was going to bring up. Actually, you took the words out of my mouth. There's reporting that China is looking at us and saying, well, they are going to collapse from the inside. We don't really need to do much. Look at all of their internal divisions, all of their internal strife. Look at the homeless problem, the drug problems in the United States. They are going to tear themselves apart. All we have to do is sit and wait and point to our Congress in Washington and show that not much is being done about it.
I'm glad you brought it up, because I've about had it with people in this country who are saying that, oh, the Chinese are winning and we're losing. Do we have our problems? Yes. But when you look over in China, there's right now a preacher who is now sitting in a Chinese prison because he dared to go back to China and preach. A free society is always going to win. Now we're having a values problem. We're having a character problem. We're having a leadership problem. But think about living in that country right now, in China. They're not going to win.
I think it's bigger than that. I think there are issues in terms of leadership and character. However, I think it's gone far beyond that. For instance, with AI, we need legislation and regulation for AI.
Yes.
Right? But the problem is that you have the president and people around him who have financial conflicts with those organizations. How can we do that properly? This is the real issue here.
Yeah, I think the point I was trying to make is, yes, a free society should always win out.
It always will win.
But we should try to figure out a way to be better and to come together, because that doesn't mean the threat is not there, and it doesn't mean the threat is not real. Governor Kasich, really good to have you. Michael Hardaway, good to have you as well. I thought it was a really interesting conversation. I'm glad we had it.